Hi, I'm Kevin with Alarm Rental Company, or Renco for short. In 10 short minutes, I can show you how to have your house protected and monitored 24 hours a day. Let me show you how. The basic unit consists of one base unit, one keypad, one outdoor wireless siren, one motion sensor, and two wireless door entry sensors. Let me show you how to install these. Here we are in the living room. I've chosen this spot because the base unit will hide easily behind the couch. Simply plug the cord into the unit, then you plug it into the wall.
Welcome to SimpliSafe. Start
Then
your
you'll
system
notice
in test mode. When you have finished installing your sensors, you may exit test mode by pressing off.
Okay, now simply just place it behind the couch, and that's all there is to it. Now we'll be placing the keypad. Simply remove the tabs back here and stick. In this case, I'll be sticking it right by the front door. It's that easy. Now we'll be covering the door sensor. This is very important as 80% of all break-ins occur with a door kick. Simply just do this. Okay, we'll be placing this one up here on top of the door. You want the arrow facing down. We pull the tab and place. Now we'll be placing the magnet. You have a 2-inch play here, and we'll be placing it right here.
Entry sensor.
You can order these also for the windows. They install the same way. Simply pull the back, adhere next to the window with the arrow facing towards the window, and place the magnet on the window. That's all there is to it. Now we come to the motion sensor. I've chosen this corner to cover all the points of entry. We peel the sticking off the back and place in the corner. This is the wireless siren. The placement of this is very important. Over on the left, I have a doctor who's out of town 7 months out of the year. On the right, I have a lady who hasn't left the house in a long time and calls 911 at the drop of a dime. Obviously, the choice is clear where to place it. To install, Simply remove the 2 adhesive strips, like so, and that's all there is to it. You want the location to be facing the neighbor who's more likely to call 911. It's that simple. In less than 10 minutes and for about $1 a day, your house has the protection of being monitored 24 hours a day. Now what do you say? Let's go out and enjoy life.
Lily Bell Farms. This whole thing started at my house, which is a certified organic berry farm. What passion drove me to do this? Well, okay, I'm an artist and I was a chef. So I worked in kitchens my whole life to support my art habit, so I could paint oil paintings and play music and do all these things I like to do. Chocolate is the perfect artistic medium. You can make it really pretty and really tasty, and 99.9% of the people you meet will eat it and love it. Now we're entering our 10th year. Lily Bell Farms is having its 10th anniversary of making chocolates. From the trunk of my car at farmers markets to now selling internationally. I've won just about every award there is to win for chocolate making. I've been declared one of the top 10 chocolatiers in the United States. And now we sell in Europe, as well as all across America, in 10 short years. Well, one of the first things we do is sort the beans. So I literally hand sort them. I go through each bean kind of individually, overlook them, make sure there's no moldy ones or ones with cracks in them. And then we take all those good beans and we put them on a pan. By using a convection oven, we can take those beans and roast them to just the right toast. We put them in the oven, we roast them to what we want, we take them out, and then the fun begins. Because you have to cool the beans off, and then we have to winnow them, which is the process of removing the shells from the nib inside. We have to put it through this little winnower that we have, that we've modified to our specifications, to crack the beans and crush them. And then it vibrates with vacuums to suck off the lighter shell while the nibs fall through, and then we have the nibs. So after we winnow the nibs, we take them over to a pre-grinder, and we put them through a pre-grinder. And it breaks the nibs down and heats them up as they go, and it becomes this kind of Play-Doh-like semi-liquid crunchy mass. And then we pour that into our grinding machine, our melanger, if you will, and we put it in there, and then we add the sugar. And so after we get all the nibs in there, and we start adding the sugar to figure out what percentage we want, which bean is going to taste which way, and the heat and friction will turn those cocoa nibs into chocolate. Cocoa beans, by their very nature, are about 45 to 50% fat. Cocoa butter. Heat and friction will make that cocoa butter turn liquid. The pounding of those stones separates that cocoa solid from the cocoa fat, and then they become this suspension, this liquid, warm suspension of chocolate. Once it's all in the machine, it can take anywhere from 48 to 72 to sometimes 90 hours to get the chocolate to taste the way we want it to taste, just to make a bar. So it's a very labor-intensive, time-consuming labor of love to make chocolate. We're just now hitting our stride in creativity, awards. We've got a balance going with our products and our packaging. And all I see in the future is a bigger place. You know, people look around and go, this is a huge place you have. I'm like, it's not big enough. We got to get bigger. We just got to keep going. Because the only thing I've learned in 10 years is there is no brake pedal in chocolate.
The ship would be the largest and greatest feat of nautical ingenuity the world had ever known. At a length of over 880 feet, she was a behemoth second to no vessel, real or mythical, that had ever sailed the Earth's oceans. Her amenities could compete with the luxuries that any ground-built hotel could possibly offer. Her name was Titanic, and she was the first of White Star Line's most impressive Olympic-class ocean liners. Her builders in Belfast expected her to forge a new reputation and a new standard for first-class seaborne transit. Not only was she a giant, she was a modern wonder. On board could be found a gymnasium and swimming pool, libraries of classical knowledge, fine dining facilities, and cabins fit for a royal family. The Western world paid awestruck attention as this majestic masterpiece set off on a glorious maiden voyage from the harbor of Southampton, England. On her decks were the highest of high society, millionaires, nobles, and industrialists who had shaken the finances of civilization. Also on board were hundreds of immigrants who sought new lives in thriving cities of North America. It was April 10th, 1912, a time of celebration that would usher in a new era of international charter. The ship that was considered unsinkable not only by her designers, but by Captain Edward Smith himself, would never arrive to her destination at New York. Frantic distress signals across wireless code had been received by the radio operator of the RMS Carpathia. Something, or someone, had caused the Titanic to plummet into the frigid depths of the Atlantic. Out of her personnel of 2,224 souls, only 710 survivors of Titanic's wreckage were recovered. They told strange tales to their rescuers of rumored curses from far-off lands and an out-of-control plumbing accident that engulfed the entire ship. The United States Senate would later conduct an inquiry of the disaster the day following Carpathia's arrival in New York. Officials wasted no time threatening the survivors with perjury if they did not support a party line of an iceberg collision.
What most Titanic historians have conveniently forgotten or have glossed over is the fact that the Titanic actually carried historical relics of mystical natures. It's only natural that the London Museum of Antiquities would have chosen this vessel for the daughter of Pharaoh's mummy.
Long before he had finally discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1922, the renowned archaeologist Howard Carter had been competing for notoriety with his French nemesis Philippe Letarque. Both men hated one another passionately, and when Letarque finally excavated the tomb of Pharaoh Akhenaten's eldest daughter Amon-Ra, Carter's team of hired Arabs wasted no time stealing the mummy from the Frenchman's camp and shipping it back to the Museum of Antiquities. It had been July of 1910, and now the New York Metropolitan Museum had purchased rights to display her in 1912. Because she was priceless, and because her whereabouts dare not be known to angry French authorities, her presence on the Titanic was meant to be a secret known only to Captain Smith and his staff. It was assumed the Titanic's leak-proof compartments virtually guaranteed her safe delivery. It was decided that her corpse be stored along with other historic artifacts that Letarque had originally found, and Carter and his band of hired thieves would take credit for.
Of course, Captain Smith, who had read Egyptian mythology to pass the time in Britain's Naval Academy, understood the reputation of Princess Amon-Ra. He was not naturally a superstitious man, but he was overheard by his crew about his misgivings of the mummy's presence and this feeling of creeping dread that came to him the moment she had been hand-carted off the gangplank and onto the deck. Rumors spread among the officers who shared these feelings. Amon-Ra had been something of a priestess who had fanatically embraced the sun-worshipping cult of her father, Pharaoh Ahan-Ra. Of course, because she was a girl, chauvinistic historians refer to her vaguely at best. It seems that she would have inherited her father's position because many of her fiercest zealots had assassinated her more moderate brothers and sisters. She would have at least been as well known as Nefertiti or Cleopatra had her royal barge not sunk after grazing a rock on the Nile. According to the legend, when priests preparing her body for mummification attempted to pump out the river water from her drowned lungs, writhing masses of black scarab beetles poured out of her mouth. It's not the kind of myth I would want to tell my children.
Rumors surrounding Princess Amon-Ra told that her vengeful spirit would always seek a watery grave on her defilers at the 12th year of each century. These rumors would not spare museum curators or janitors, and Titanic's crew would certainly not be immune to them.
My great-uncle remembered the voyage quite well. Once in a blue moon, he'd pour a bottle of whiskey in front of the fireplace and tell his boys about it. He shared a cabin with his wife, Lindsay, and the first night after embarking, she turned to him in bed and says, "Sweetie, do you notice the crew of this here tin can?" And he turned back to her and said, "No, dear, I can't say that I have." "Well," says my great aunt, "you know, they keep talking about this rubbish, a cursed Egyptian mummy to each other. They're whispering to each other, you know, but I can still hear them." Then Uncle Sped says something like, "Oh, now you're just imagining things, dear. Now just go to sleep." And she says, "Tommy, honey, you don't think this ship is cursed, do you? I mean, these were the kind of conversations my great uncle told us about when we was up drinking and rambling about that god-awful wreck of a ship."
These rumors of fear and dread would spread from crew to passengers as HMS Titanic plunged through the Atlantic to America. It is human nature to fear what we do not know. It is also human nature to increasingly take relaxing baths and showers when we feel stress, or perhaps when we feel a certain filth in the air that can be as psychic as it is physical. Who could predict that overuse of Titanic's already poorly designed plumbing system would lead to a disaster far worse than mass paranoia of a wrathful maiden from ancient times? While today we credit an abnormally large iceberg with Titanic's fate, survivors tell a far stranger, far more elaborate tale, not of natural occurrences, but of supernatural occurrences. We may never know what the fate was of that vessel. It is not our intent to make you believe, but rather to draw your own conclusions of the incident. What had truly been the fate of the pride of the first ocean liners? Why was the unlikely tale of a freak iceberg at a latitude of 41 degrees circulated with such enthusiasm by government and press of both the United States and Great Britain? What is the story behind the scenes of what we have assumed? Can the truth finally be released after a century of intimidation and cover-up? In this episode of Truth or Conspiracy, we seek the answers to these questions and more as we explore the curse of the Titanic.